so this is my presentation on music from the 1920s to the present day. Woo, exciting. Okay, I have sweets with me as well, so I'll ask you questions. If you get it right, you get a sweet. If you have any questions at any point, just kind of put your hand up and try and answer it. So yeah. We're not doing the game, I'm sorry. Sorry to disappoint you all. But okay, the 1920s, there's acoustic blues, my sound clip isn't working. But basically, at the same time in the 1920s, in London, rich white people were listening to classical music, and rich Americans in New York City were listening to jazz. And basically, in New Orleans, in the deep south of America, which is here, black people who were very poor were playing acoustic blues. And it was mostly black people because the races were segregated in the 1920s. I don't know if you've done it in history or anything. Yeah? I got a nod there, so okay. And the lyrics were really sad in the music because they were just talking about how their descendants of slaves and stuff like that. It was also lyrics about heartbreak and stuff like that. The tempo was really slow, and like the key was usually like in a minor, so it was like sad. And it was all played in poor areas in the deep south, and a lot of like the scene was surrounded by drinking and drugs, that sort of thing. In a 1920s band, the instruments were really basic. They'd either steal them or make them, and it was usually an acoustic guitar, a steel guitar, double bass, you know, the ones that you hold. Yeah, yeah. And sometimes a piano and like a really basic drum kit. The instruments were made or stolen, like I said. And examples of like 1920s musicians were like Big Joe Williams and Blind Blake. I don't know if you know them. I don't know, my sound clip's not working. Then in the 1930s, we move on to electric blues. And I have a clip if it wants to work. Oh no, they're not working. Okay, we don't have any clips. Never mind. But electric instruments started to be used. So instead of an acoustic guitar, they'd have an electric guitar. And I'm pretty sure you know what an electric guitar is. Yeah. Okay, people moved to the north in Chicago, which was kind of near New York, at the top of America. And they took their music with them, so it kind of like started to move all around America. The races were still segregated, and it was still kind of like a rough life with lots of drugs and stuff like that. And they'd started busking or play at like the House of Blues, which is like a hot spot to go and watch blues musicians. WAP Radio Chicago, they started airing their music, so more people would listen to it. And a company called Crown Records, they put it onto vinyl, so if you don't know what vinyl is, that's a vinyl, but without the subtitles. It was a lot faster than electric blues, and there was a lot of improvisation, so they basically kind of make a lot of it up on the spot. And yeah, they'd sometimes put classical instruments in, so do you know, can you guess what classical music instruments they put in? Go on.
Violin.
Not really, it was more kind of like brass stuff. Go on, guess. I'll give you a sweet. You don't get one. Right. No, they put like saxophones and clarinets and that sort of thing. And examples of electric blues is Muddy Waters and B.B. King. Okay, and then the 1940s. Oh, I think this one worked. Why isn't it working?
You need to highlight it.
I need to highlight it. Well, it's not. It won't even highlight. Never mind. Right. Okay, so at the time, World War II was also happening. So basically, sailors would go from America, where this started, to like you know, England, and they took the music with them. And it actually developed in Chicago and New York, so they took it all around the world. Vinyl was really popular to have swing music on it, and it was basically the poor people that played it onto the vinyl, and the rich people bought it. So yeah, it's a lot faster than blues, and there's more instruments like saxophones, trombones, clarinets, and violins, like you said. It's offbeat, so instead of going 1, 2, 3, 4, it'd be 1, 2, 3, 4. Well, not really. I don't know how to explain. It was a rebellion against classical music, and some of the songs also rebelled against Nazi Germany because that was happening at the time. Okay. Can any of you kind of guess a rock and roll musician? You don't count. Oh, okay. Go on, someone guess. I've got sweets. You got to know one. Come on. He was really fake. Go on.
Elvis Presley.
Yeah, wicked. Go on, have a sweet. Go on, Musta. Okay, so this originated in rough areas of Memphis. And it was described as up-tempo blues because it was a lot faster and happier, but it still followed the similar kind of 12-bar blues pattern. Do you know what the 12-bar blues is? Yeah? Yeah, it's in Camel Boogie Boogie because you all know that song. Yeah, it uses a 12-bar blues. It was a lot more multicultural because it wasn't really segregated. Like Elvis was a white musician who played this, and then you've also got like other musicians like Chuck Berry, who was black. They both kind of played the same music. It was a rebellion against swing, and used pretty much the same instruments like guitar, bass, drums, vocals. It used a lot of fifth chords. I don't have a guitar to show you fifth chords, but it used fifth chords. It was signed to Sun Records, which is the record company. Music was also pretty much vinyl, and it was really bad quality, but it was still really expensive. If you yawn in my presentation, I'm really loud. Yeah. Okay. Right, now you've got the mods, which were a British subculture. Have any of you seen This Is England? Yeah. Yeah, okay. You know what they kind of look like? They wear suits, they ride Vespa scooters, they're quite kind of posh. They were based in London, and the music wasn't really that experimental or raw. And Paul McCartney from the Beatles, he kind of did more music. I really want my links to work, but they just won't. You'll just have to imagine it in your heads.
Nicole doesn't have this problem. They're not actually hyperlinks, they're just links. You need to copy and paste them.
Yeah, but you can't even copy them.
Yeah, links. Oh, right.
Yeah.
That's your problem.
Well,
My links
Why don't you pass that?
Back to the presentation, please.
yeah, it worked on the other one. I'm going to get downgraded because of you.
I'm sorry.
And then you got the rockers, and they were a subculture that kind of rebelled against society's expectations. Like, they'd usually be like around London art colleges, and they grow their hair long, stuff like that. They rode motorbikes, they wore leather, and they were also kind of into drugs. So the music was really raw and really experimental. It sounded quite rough. An example of this is the Rolling Stones. I guess you kind of know the Rolling Stones? Yeah? Okay. And that's like a pretty picture just to kind of show you the difference between mods and rockers, because I think they're kind of the same, but they're not. Okay, in the 1970s, you've got ska, which I put it evolved from reggae, it didn't. But it's a lot faster than reggae. When I describe ska to people that don't know ska, I kind of say it's like reggae with trumpets, and they kind of get it. But they usually got signed to Trojan Records. Well, not signed, but Trojan Records kind of made compilations of ska, so like lots of different artists on one kind of. It had bass, drums, vocals, guitar, brass instruments, so like trumpets and saxophones. The lyrics can basically be about anything. It had a skank rhythm, and the skank is also kind of a dance that they use in ska, and still use in ska. But it was a lot more multicultural, and it was like a big influence on racial harmony. And basically, usually Skinners listen to them. So those are Skinners, they shave their hair, they wear Fred Perrys, they have braces and boots and Doc Martens and Harringtons, that sort of thing. Skinners aren't very nice though, don't you think? Okay. And then punk, and these are some lovely punks. Yay. Basically, when we talk about punk from the 70s, we call it 77 punk, because punk had a lot of influence on other genres of punk, like there's DB punk, cross punk, ska punk, there's basically any punk you can think of. But it came from the mods and the rockers and originated in the UK. It was a rebellion against society standards and the government, and a lot of songs were basically based about how much they hate the government and stuff like that. It used bass, drums, guitars, and vocals, and on the guitars they'd use a lot of power chords. Do any of you play guitar? No? Never mind then. You should play guitar, it's cool. It's really fast tempo, and it's in common time. Do you know what common time is?